Hello, I am making this video to show you all my new Notion digital library. So here's what happened. I am not a reader. I've never really considered myself someone who reads a lot, but I am one of those people who purchases subscriptions and forgets about it. And Audible was one of those subscriptions that I forgot about for like almost a year. So when I went in to cancel, I had all of these credits that I needed to use, or else they would have disappeared when I canceled my subscription. So I added a bunch of books to my Audible library, things that were suggested for me, things within the genre that I love, which is usually suspense or thrillers, things like that. And I began to listen to the books, and to my surprise, I couldn't stop. And so I've been listening to a lot of books. And I have been sick this weekend, and so I was looking through to try and find another book that I haven't read to go ahead and dig into. And I found that it was kind of difficult, and my Audible library area was a bit cluttered. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of books in here. I wonder how many I've read. I wonder what's really here. And I thought, it's probably time for a Notion template to help me out with this. And I was actually really surprised. I know this isn't a lot of books for the true book girlies, but for me, it was a lot. I have ADHD. I have always had trouble just sitting and reading a book. Audible obviously has been a game changer for me, but I didn't realize that before. And as I'm looking at all of these books that I've completed, I'm like, man, I think I'm a book girly. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I do need a system. So I came up with one. So let's just take a look at it with me. So right here, the first thing, of course, the most important part is the library. This is where we have all of our books listed, all of the books that I own. And so when I add a new book, you can obviously take the picture of the cover of the book and place it up here so that it shows up beautifully right here in our dashboard. We add the title of the book, the author, genre. If it's a book in a series, you can add which book in the series it is here. You can give your rating, and then there is a progress bar that is filled in as you enter the total chapters and where you are. So of course right here I have read 57 of 57, which is why this purple progress bar is filled all the way in. Since I'm doing Audible, I'm just doing chapters instead of pages or locations in a Kindle book. You can type in your review. Of course, I'm doing this way after the fact, so I don't have any typed reviews, so maybe I'll go through and do that later. And then we have check boxes that organize these books even further and can put them in different buckets or categories. So if it's a book that I have purchased and I haven't read yet, I would check here for to be read. We can categorize one as a favorite, recommended, or completed. And when we check off different check boxes here, it automatically organizes books in a way that is visually helpful for me. So I'll show you what I mean. Down here at the bottom, we see a few databases, and these are these automatic buckets for the books. So if a book got checked off as a favorite, it will automatically show here. If it's recommended, automatically here, and obviously as a book is completed, it is automatically added to this list. So I don't have to place anything here. These are automatically added here as I fill in these check boxes, okay? And then the thing that was the most helpful for me, or that I found that I needed the most, was the to be read area. This area just shows me what's up next. What books have I yet to read? And I can just scroll through and pick one when I'm ready to dive into a new book. And then of course up here we have a wish list area. So books that I have not purchased yet, just to remind myself of books that looked interesting that I want to add to my library. And down here, of course, we have all of the authors. whenever you add a book and you add the author's name, it shows up here in this list. I found that that was helpful because there were some authors that I had quite a few of their books, and I realized that I was a fan of theirs. So it was kind of cool to be able to see who the authors are that interest me. Over here we have reading sessions. So this is something I saw other book lovers do, and that was to actually journal specifically about what was going on during one of their reading sessions. So when they opened up their book, they began journaling about the whole experience. So this isn't something that I've done yet. Like I said, this is all retroactive. I am just now using this template. So I can't wait to use a reading session page. But when you add a session, it opens up to this page where it automatically fills in the current date. You select, this will turn into a drop down menu, so I can select which book I'm reading during this session. I can type in how long I was in this reading session, my mood, the snacks I was eating. I can add notes, and then of course I like to, something that's really important to me is to memorize quotes from the book I was reading. And so I decided to create a whole separate database for quotes. So that's why this is a separate database. And this database is inside of the sessions area, because if you add a quote here within a session, it's automatically attached to the book that we were reading in this session. So that was important for me to make this like a more automatic and easy way to log quotes. And another reason I wanted it in a different database is because I wanted quotes to show up in their own window. So whenever I add a quote, it actually shows up here in the quote window. And as you can see right here, is automatically tied to the specific book that it came from. And so that's really something that I'm excited about, being able to memorize these impactful moments of reading a book. So this quote right here, if you're reading it and you're like, why is this quote a big deal to her? Well, cults are a special interest of mine. For personal reasons, I was definitely a part of a quote unquote church that actually identified more as a cult, a high control group. And this book, again, had no idea what it was about. I just knew it was a suspense thriller book. So I added it to my cart with all of those credits I had. And to my surprise, it was about a police officer. I think she was a police officer, detective, who grew up in a cult, and a religious cult. And she is investigating another religious cult and trying to help take them down for crimes they're committing, all that good stuff. But what I love is that the author, Mike Omer, clearly did research on cults and how they work and what they truly are. Because cults aren't what a lot of people think they are. You know, when people think cults, they think like some weird, shady, ritualistic underground club, when actually cults are everywhere. And a lot of them are a lot of the religious organizations that people are a part of, and I was a part of one. And this book just really did a great job of helping you understand that. It was very entertaining, but actually very educational. And this quote was really huge for me, because, you know, one of the things that happens when you come out of a cult is you wonder, how did I end up here? What was I thinking? How did I not see what was going on? But everybody has their vulnerabilities, and Abby kind of mentions that here in the book. She says, because there was only one vaccination against cult recruitment, being on guard. And if you assumed you were already immune, if you underestimated cults, then you were at risk. And that just felt validating, I think. Of course, cults a lot of times recruit very young people as well. And so many people just aren't aware. And I just love that this book really dived into that. But anyway, this is not about that book. And it's not about my history with cults. This is supposed to be about my Notion dashboard. Okay, so moving on. The next thing I want to point out is, there we go, the quick actions menu. And this is where I have set up buttons that specifically, as soon as I click on them, I can jump to whatever it is I need to do in this digital library. Add a book, add a new session, a new to be read book, new wish list item, and these things will automatically be filled into the associated database without me having to necessarily scroll to each database, which again is very helpful for my ADHD brain. And then another little fun area up here is the stats area, where as soon as you add a book to the library, the number changes here, letting you know how many books are here. As soon as you mark a book off as completed, that number changes here. And as you're adding the duration to your reading sessions, this little area here will tally up all of your hours, so you can just see how much time you spent reading. So it's really fun. Last but not least, I added a content page because I don't know if I'm going to make content. Like I said, I never really consider myself a reader. However, maybe I am. Look, I have 33 books here. I know that's nothing, again, to the real book girlies, but to me, that's a big deal. And so I just made a content page, and it opens up to a completely different page for planning content, where I can type in any content ideas. And of course, you're looking at one of them right now, which is share my Notion template. And then here is where I've actually added the post that I am making currently. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for looking at this video. And yeah, that's my Notion digital library. Okay, bye-bye, guys.